Hey guys, what's up? It's Ryan Maher, and you're listening to Pizza Beer Revolution.
Hit it! Culture, sophisticated
Podcast Revolution. Now tell me something good. Oh yeah.
What's up, everybody? PBR Podcast, Mike Polano, Derek D, and sitting in, Mr. Comedian and apparently relative of many boxers, Mr. Ryan Maher.
Yeah,
Ryan Maher, what's up?
Just one boxer?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? How are you?
Good,
to be
man.
here.
How are you?
Good to be here, man.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Good to be here. Oh, well, technically again.
Yeah, can I just say,
Can we talk about that?
Let's talk about it.
We had Ryan on the show once, and
Back in July.
yeah, it was back in the summer, and it was just me and him because you couldn't get back from Long Island or something.
It was 100% a technological and travel cluster.
Fuck.
Yeah. You said it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
No, it was a good time. It was fun, and they all missed out on it. So now
Yeah.
we're gonna try to catch lightning in a bottle again.
Yeah, we'll
We're
do it,
back.
right?
Yeah, we're here.
I was in a basement in Long Island. I think when we started, we were trying to do it over Skype, and we've had Skype guests on. Like, we try to not do anything
It's a
that's
pain in
remote.
the ass,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, we like to be in the room with the person.
Yeah.
And I was out in Long Island with family, and schedules just got crazy, and I couldn't get back.
Yeah.
So we tried to Skype.
I remember there was a baby in the background.
Gatto and I were in Long
yeah.
Island, and you guys
Yeah.
were here, and we tried to Skype and cross. And like right when we started the show, we have a very large Italian family, and as soon as we started the show,
was
they
dinner time.
all showed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is like
And then it was like, so we're in a basement. We can't get a good Wi-Fi signals. We can't hear anybody. We're trying to do it on. It was terrible. So we
Yeah.
apologize
Oh,
for
no,
that.
it's no big
but
deal.
you're here now.
I'm here now.
and we're gonna kill it.
Let's do it.
Right?
I'm ready.
Second time
Hey,
would be better.
What do you want to talk about?
Second time's a charm.
Ryan's a local from Jersey too. He's from
Yeah,
Brick.
I'm right over. Like I'm on the border of Brick and Point. I mean, I could throw a rock. I'm in Point Pleasant. And on the other
right.
side, I'm in Brick. So yeah, it's not a big deal to come here at all. I'm in this area a lot, partying anyway, having a good time. So it always works out.
So you're born and raised in Jersey?
Yeah, well, I was born in Hudson County, North Bergen. I was actually born in Secaucus. My mom worked at Meadowlands Hospital, up in, like right near Giant Stadium, and but I've been down here most of my life. I mean, we moved to the Jersey Shore, as they say, when I was
Hate that.
almost 7.
We all do.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, I've been down here most of my life. This is pretty much home at this point.
So your mom, you said your mom worked in a hospital.
Yeah, she was a nurse.
Did they meet? In my world, I want them to have met because your dad had like a horrible like a fight, and he was like, it was like a Rocky Balboa.
No, my dad wasn't a boxer.
Your
It was my
grandfather was a boxer.
My grandfather's boxer.
So I want to believe that your grandfather was boxing your father. Now, what did your dad do?
It could have been. My dad actually works for New Jersey Transit, which I did for a while too. He's in bus. I was in rail, and I gave that up to do comedy. And he hasn't talked to me since. No, I'm kidding. But my dad. What was he doing when he met my mom? Though he wasn't a bus driver. I think he was like a salesman or something.
Rail
I don't
and
know.
comedy are very similar.
What's that?
Like they're very similar jobs.
Railroad and comedy?
Yeah, you were in the car,
I was a train conductor. Yeah.
right? So you're dealing with people all the time. And you're walking.
Yeah,
through some
but
characters.
I don't like them though.
That's
I mean,
my point,
so-
right? Like,
I mean, comedy. I try to at least be nice to my audience members, but
And yeah, I think you had your first comedy album was called Off the Rails.
yeah, because
appropriately.
I was doing a
named.
closing bit about train suicides because I was fascinated by the idea that if someone jumped in front of my train, I'd get 3 paid days off, and I'd be
Right,
like.
right.
That's almost like an incentive, you know. I wish I wasn't on a track. I'd be steering
That's
into
terrible.
people, you know.
I should tell you how my cousin passed away.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, no, I'm really not. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Well, because it's that, and that's the other thing too. And I'm sure we can get into that about how with comedy, and the unfortunate thing is that I was doing that bit for about a year. And then there was like here on the Jersey Shore, very
Those
tragically,
Manasquan
unfortunately,
kids.
there were a bunch of different kids that were jumping in front of trains, and it was awful. But the thing was that now I'm like, shit, do I not do the bit? You know what I mean?
Right. It's like I got a whole year off. This is great. I
Like-
can work on my comedy.
But I mean, I had already left the railroad at that point. I had probably been gone about a year, so I just missed out on all of that. Thank God, I didn't really want to experience that. I only experienced it happening twice.
You literally were conducting and
Yeah.
2 times.
2 times.
What is that? Do you want to talk about? I mean, you want to talk about
Yeah,
that?
I mean, it's gross.
Do you see it coming?
You saw it? You went and
Or
looked?
is
it
it
like-
get out afterwards?
I mean, is it like you're driving down the street and in the winter and a snowball hits your car? You hear it and then you look, or like
the only
know
person
what
who
happened.
really sees it is the engineer, and then you usually get notified. I mean, the only thing that I ever saw when we were in the cab car, because obviously as a conductor you're not on the engine with the engineer, but when you're in the cab car because you can operate from either end. You'd go up and I'd sneak a cigarette in if the engineer smoked or whatever. And I remember the most gruesome thing that I actually witnessed get hit was a deer.
All right.
And that was in Trenton. And I mean, this thing, it was running on the tracks, and we're like, oh, come on, move, man. And then we just boom, and you would hear it go underneath.
It doesn't affect the car at all.
It could. I mean, it could cause not a derailment necessarily, but it could cause a couple of different issues that you'd have to get out and check. And but yeah, I mean, we had two different people, but I wasn't the head conductor, so I only got out once. It's the head conductor's responsibility.
Oh, so you have to stop. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's the head conductor's responsibility to go out and assess the situation.
Yeah.
Oof.
And I went with him once, and it was pretty gruesome.
That's terrible.
But
it's so crazy because I ride the train all the time. I'm on the train constantly to the city, and I was on one train one time where that happened, and it's crazy to see people's reactions. Some people are literally
They're
like
mad, right?
Jeez, you decide today to kill yourself.
And what did they say?
Why don't you just
We had-
take a bag of pills?
What'd they say? Like we had a trespasser on the tracks, right?
Trespasser,
Yeah,
or we
exactly.
one time. No, I think for that one it was we've had a track fatality.
Oh wow.
Or no. When I heard that, it wasn't our train. It was like two trains ahead of us.
Okay.
They said there was a fatality on the track, and so we're delayed because of blah 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 blah.
But one time, going back to that whole thing about how, do I do the bit? Do I not do the bit? More experienced comics than I at the time were like, fuck it, you got to do it. It's your bit. You know what I mean? And I'm like, all right. So I did it one night at Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club in Point Pleasant, which is like my home club. I'm there pretty regularly. And I was at the time opening for Mitch Fatel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mitch, but Mitch does a lot of very, I guess you could call it sexually gratuitous material. There's jokes about date rape. It's all very funny, and he gets away with it the way he delivers it. Like, for example, one of his jokes is, I went out on a date the other night, and I knew I was going to get laid because she left her drink at the table. And everybody laughs, right? So at the end of the show, him and I are outside, and I'm selling. I don't think I'm selling anything at the time. I don't even know if I had my CD yet. I might have, I might not have. But anyway, this woman comes out, and I noticed when I was up there that she was into me until I did the train bit, and then I saw her like not laugh.
Into you in the sense of like laughing.
Yeah. Then Mitch is up there and he's doing his material and she's loving it. So she goes up to Mitch and she's like, I thought you were phenomenal. You were so great, so funny. And now like there's a crowd, forming because everyone wants to either, go to their cars or give us a compliment, whatever. And then she turns to me, she goes, but you're a fucking scumbag. And I just went, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way because I knew it was coming,
Yeah.
And she goes, what kind of an animal jokes about suicide? And I said, well, miss, it's something that I experienced. It's something that I wanted to talk about. And I feel that I try to do it in a way that can make something uncomfortable kind of funny. I think that's what comedians do. And she goes, no, it doesn't work that way. And I went, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. So I go back to talking to somebody else and she just keeps going and going. Now it's getting attention and people are watching. And she's like, you should be more like him. You're not like him. You're a scumbag. And I said, miss, he was doing jokes about date rape. And you know what she said? She goes, well, I was never raped. And I'm like, oh, so that fucking makes it okay? I'm like, don't come to a comedy show then. She goes, I'll have you know, asshole, my nephew jumped in front of a train. And so I just couldn't help it. I'm like, well, it's not my fault you were a shitty aunt. And then I just shut her down because she's like, wow, he really, I don't want to spar with this guy.
Well,
and I did feel bad for going that far over the line, but it's like, what was I supposed to do? For minutes, this girl was just fucking in my face.
I mean, it's safe to say that every single act in the world, because comedy comes from tragedy and stuff.
Absolutely.
Everybody's going to be offended by something, man. You got to chill out. You're at a comedy show.
You can't. Yeah, that's the main thing. You can't A, expect to please everybody, and B, comedy is comedy. And you're hearing all these universities and stuff that are they give you a list of what you can't talk about. And I was like, that's not how it works.
Yeah. No.
People joked, there's ways you can even joke about 9/11 and stuff and make it funny because you bring, like you said,
No, you can't.
comedy out of tragedy.
Yeah, wait.
No, and I'm not saying joking about 9/11, but
Way to bring the podcast to a screeching halt, Derek.
You communist.
no, actually to touch on that, I was
Fucking
doing
Bernie Sanders supporter.
DerekD.com now it forwards to ISIS website.
Yeah.
Join here.
Jesus, relax.
Well, speaking of the college thing, though, the last college I ever did, and I don't think I'll ever do another one. I did Thomas College up in Waterville, Maine, and I remember it was the same thing. Like I went up there. And now here's the thing. I don't want to be disrespectful, but let's be honest here. I don't know if you guys went to college or not, but when you go to college, what were you doing on a Friday night? You were drinking, trying to meet girls,
Absolutely.
having a good time. And that doesn't happen
And
anymore.
Thursday night, and
Because look what
Wednesday
happened
night.
last night at that Donald Trump rally in Chicago. Now that's the new big thing. Let's go get our signs and protests. We don't want to meet women, assholes. But anyway, so anyway, I go to do this college, and I mean, I'm looking out into the audience, and I'm seeing all these kids in like fucking Harry Potter sweatshirts, and I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Like I have the unfuckables in my audience today. So now
Did you say that?
No.
That'd be a great opening line.
So now,
went over the crowd right
so
away.
now I'm backstage, and it's the NACA, people that put together, but it's all these student advisors that book you. So they come up to me and they hand me a sheet of paper, and it literally is all this stuff that I can't talk about.
Come on.
And it says no size jokes. So I thought that meant,
Penis.
like, that,
Right.
and like don't make fun of
Oh,
anybody
like
in the
big
crowd or like do crowd work.
I thought it was
So
my
I
fault.
said, I go, no size jokes. I go, what does that mean? She goes, oh, well, don't talk about people being too skinny or too fat. I said, well, I'm fat. I said, and I want to do some self-deprecating stuff to warm them up. No, just because you're comfortable with your size doesn't mean that it won't bring up issues for other people. And I'm like, are you fucking
This is
kidding me?
comedy. It's
Yeah.
not,
It
it
was
doesn't
the
work
worst.
like that.
It was the worst. And then the other experience that I had that really pissed me off at a college, I did Quinnipiac, and it was in their big auditorium, and it was the weekend. I guess it was like freshman weekend where like you're there for a couple months, and then your parents come to see how the college life is treating you.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was literally 2,000 people in the auditorium. I had to keep it very clean. Like to the point where parents were coming up to me afterwards and like, you were great, but we were expecting you to be like a little dirty. Like,
Yeah.
we're here with our college kids. We want to have fun. But what bothered me was when that show ended and I said, thank you, good night. The woman who's like the faculty advisor comes out and she says, oh, okay, guys. And if you want to keep the fun going, over in such and such auditorium, we're going to be showing the movie Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis. The whole movie is about sex.
Right.
There's a million F-bombs. I think she's naked at one point, but
Yeah.
I can't say shit or fuck while I'm on stage.
Right.
But here's the thing. Like, once you're on stage and you have the mic in your hand and the audience, you got the audience in your hand as well. They're on your side. What are they going to do? They're going to literally
Yeah,
yank
shut
you?
it down?
You'll never get booked again.
Yeah.
Or they'll put out a review about you. See, that works in comedy clubs. It doesn't work in
work in that,
colleges.
yeah.
My friend Jay Black told a great story about, and he was voted NACA College Comedian of the Year a couple years in a row. Right after Hurricane Katrina, he opened for Patrice O'Neal. And I've gotten to work with Patrice many times before he passed at clubs and stuff, and it was a great experience. But he opened for him. I forget what the college was, but it was like 5,000 people were at this show.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes up, they told him, you have to be squeaky clean. And he was like, even though I'm opening for Patrice? And they're like, yeah. And this was right after Hurricane Katrina. So Jay does his 20-minute set.
Where
He gets
was
through
it? Down-
I forget what college it was.
It wasn't in New Orleans.
No.
Yeah.
But this was just the time frame. Patrice goes up there, and the first words out of his mouth were, fuck Hurricane Katrina. What do I care about them niggas out there? Is it going to affect my gas prices? And people started getting up in droves and walking out. But he's Patrice O'Neal. So if they wanted to complain about him, they'd be like, look, you knew what the fuck you were getting.
Yeah.
Ryan Maher, Jay Black.
Right.
We're just regular working comics. We don't have... we have followings, but we're not names by any stretch. So it's not like you could say you knew what you were getting.
Right.
So
That's-
it's horrible though.
It really is ridiculous how they curtail comedy now, and because everyone's offended by everything. It's just,
I mean, it's not just
this-
comedy; it's everything across the board.
This young generation, this young high school type kids, just like, oh, you can't say that. No, everyone's everyone. Everyone could go to the same bathroom. No, you're a guy. You go to the guy's room. You're a chick. You go to the chick's room. I don't care if you identify as.
There's going to be a breaking point. There's got to be a breaking point.
There
where
has
it's
to
going to
be.
go back, right? You know.
But I think we're seeing that now. I think last night, I mean, look, whether you're a Donald Trump supporter or not, I think last night people are seeing these asshole college kids. Look, even if some of them have points that are logical, and I'm not saying that some of them don't, but when you're seeing how they're acting, and we're in Chicago, we're not talking about, these weren't black people acting out, where you could even use that old racist argument of, look, these were fucking regular lily white kids that are throwing shit at people's cars and having this sense of entitlement because they've grown up their whole life never getting their ass kicked. They never got punched in the face. I think like our generation, how old are you, Derek?
34.
All right, I'm going to be 33 in June. I feel like our group was like the last group where if you acted like a dick, someone might punch you in the face. And even then it was starting to get frowned upon.
Yeah.
But right underneath us, like my sister's age group, my sister's like 26, I even see some of the guys that she's hung out with over the years. And I'm like, man, this kid's never gotten his ass kicked. So he feels he could just say or do whatever the fuck he wants without any repercussions.
You're right. The kid hit on the nail on the head with that.
Like they had
it all entitled. It's crazy.
100%.
They had a kid on Fox last night, and he just like, because they're going around to the protesters, and most of the kids didn't even know what they were protesting. They just didn't like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And they were trying to cover it by the fact of, oh, well, we don't want to share while we're protesting. Well, isn't that the point of a fucking protest? But they go up to this one kid, and he's just like, Fox News, Fox News, Fox News, yelling in their face. Like, do you have anything original to say? And he's like, oh, well, I'm proud to be a Chicagoan, and Chicago cleaned up its mess tonight. I go, really? I go, you're standing behind police that you probably bash on social media. You want to clean up Chicago, go into the inner city. Go talk to the gang members that are shooting each other. You won't do that.
No.
What was the root of the whole uprising? They didn't want Donald Trump to speak?
They just didn't want him to speak. Because the First Amendment only applies to these people when it's something they agree with.
What about the supporters of Donald Trump?
They were trying to yell back, but you got to realize, what are they going to do? I mean, there were some young kids, which was nice to see. There were some kids that were like 18 to 25 that were there supporting Trump, but it was mostly people in their 40s and 50s. And the one guy was like, this is what college is now. Like, this is how these kids act. And he goes, I'm a college alumni. Fuck you, mister.
Well,
and
you know
like,
what?
wow.
But you know what, man? It's like, and here's the thing that they're rallying against Donald Trump, and they're in college, and they're in support of somebody who wants to give them college for free. The Democratic side. So you're right. Like, they need to be punched in the face. They are entitled, and they think they should get everything, and that's why they're rallying against this. Like, I'm not going to give out my political opinions, but I mean, Trump 2016. But like, seriously, they just want it and give me.
Yeah.
I think our generation should just have a battle royale and slap the shit out of that generation.
And then we get in trouble. I mean,
Like,
there's
whatever.
just no...
Dom, what do you think? Were you pissed? Were you pissed last night?
I got to tell you something. Listen, it's fantastic. This Ryan Mark kid, fantastic. He's going to help me build the wall. I'm going to hire him as my personal White House comedian. And let me tell you something, Mike. You're an asshole. But other than that, I love you.
Dom, we know this. But last night in Chicago, how did you feel?
Listen.
I mean, you wanted to talk, right?
Yeah, I love Chi-Town. Okay, I think it's fantastic. I think it's going to be a huge city. I'm going to win Illinois. Let me say something. The reason that it went all to shit is because they're jealous. They want my money, and they're assholes.
Now, Bernie Sanders
Huge
is here,
idiots.
everybody. Bernie, did you actually put those college kids up to it?
I told them that we would go to the Trump rally and then make sure that you hold those signs up and you disrupt everything, because you know what? Everyone is going to do everything for free, and we're going to get the middle class to pay for it. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, I don't want to say I sound like Trump, but
It's amazing.
You sound like a guy who should be running a fucking bagel shop in Brooklyn.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means it's a spot-on Bernie
and
Sanders.
then I don't understand, but every time Trump and Bernie Sanders are at a place together, Bruce Springsteen shows up. I don't know. He only has one line that he says. Bruce, what did you say last night?
Well down on the Jersey.
So that's it. All right, thank you, Bruce Springsteen. So
I wonder
don't know.
if Bruce will show up.
It's crazy. So I don't know. I
Well, if
guess
it's at the Stone Pony Up, we'll.
I guess it's good that some kind of fire has been lit. Under,
Yeah, I think what this is really gonna do, and I could be wrong. I'm no political analyst, but I think that it's actually gonna support Trump instead of being a detriment. It's gonna
even
it's gonna
bad
boost him.
even right? Even what? Damn it! 60%. Even bad publicity is good publicity.
Because I feel that there were people that might think that, and you know what else cracks me up too when you hear people go, oh, Trump's, I just worry he's not very presidential. I'm like, oh, like the guy that we had there in the 90s who was sticking cigars in girls' in the Oval Office, like that was presidential. People forget so much, and not to make this a whole political thing, but I think it really just has a lot to do with society now. And people are really voting for their entitlements. It's not like it used to be where it's like, well, I'm a Clinton guy and I'm a George Bush guy.
Yeah.
But you were still humans that had basic, understanding of how life works. Now it's like, the millennials are, I believe, there's more millennials now than there are even baby boomers. So it's scary to think that they're the majority now. This entitlement is the majority. It's not
Which
like
is
just
crazy.
young dumb kids anymore. They grow up. I mean, we were all, when we were younger, we all felt a certain way, but we evolved. I don't see an evolution going on with these people.
I mean, where does it end? You know what I mean? Like, my argument is that, like, on both sides of the fence, right? I don't think it's really a Democratic or Republican thing. Do you want everything you're entitled? Do you want everything paid for? Or you're a big business and you want to build a wall? I think the problem is that it's gotten to become a two-party system, and it never was intended to be.
No, it never
You know
was.
what I mean? And money and media kind of dictates who's
Social
allowed
media
to be
and
up on
media.
CNN debate and who could talk.
Absolutely.
Like if Ryan's going to run for president, you should be able to run for, like you can, but no one will ever know, and you're never going to have enough money to just do that.
But maybe that's a good thing, though, too, because look at how many assholes are out there, and social media has given so many of those assholes voices that do we really need more of them?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
may-
that's a
but, like, you want
slippery slope.
Well, look at your choices. There's not a good choice. There's not a good choice. Whoever is going to be president next probably isn't one of those people. The people that you're seeing right now.
Well, who do you
It
think?
can't be. It can't be. I don't know.
Well,
Somebody.
Who else could it be? It's either going to be
Bloomberg?
Hillary Sanders,
No,
Trump,
it's not, though.
Cruz.
It doesn't have to be that way.
But
that's the thing.
but that's how
the-
it's gonna be.
But that's the problem with the system, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody thinks that. Most people listening
Yeah,
to this podcast think that it has to be one of them. It doesn't. If Derek D writes it on the ballot, you can
Yeah,
vote
but
for Derek
But
D.
that's not how it works.
But it
though.
should-
I mean,
but it-
you don't even get all
That's-
You don't even
that's
get
the
the
problem.
ballot access.
You're right,
Maybe
but
it
like,
is.
what the thing is though that what should be able to do is like, look, we don't really like if for most people like we don't really like any of these people.
Right.
Can we get someone else like Romney come back or
not even
God.
not even like
not even
that,
him? I'm
you
just
know?
saying like people like whoever. You know, there should be another,
has to be a
another
savior, man.
opportunity for other people to come in.
I think you're going to see that happen, dude. I don't think
Not
anybody
this time around.
You don't think so?
No, it's impossible.
It's not impossible.
It is, for this time around, it is because you can't even get. Jesse Ventura said this years ago, before he wound up going off the deep end. He was like, "I will not run for president as an independent." He said because I can't get ballot access in all 50 states. If you can't even get on the ballots, there's no way you can win.
Yeah.
So it is impossible. You know,
I mean, if
there has
it's-
to be massive overhaul of the system.
If it's
That's not
ever
gonna happen this
getting,
election.
I mean, if it ever is possible, the way technology is now, it's becoming more possible because of social media. You know what I mean? Like if you garnered up enough social media presence and everybody in the country, the young, rallied around you and were like fed up,
No.
and you did have some valid points,
Good.
you know, and you were pretty good.
I think
you
we're
never
seeing
know.
that now, though, with some of these people that are for Bernie Sanders, because I mean, it is a grassroots movement, and it's a lot of it started from social media. He's not spending big money on like attack ads. It's a lot of it's social media advertising with his misspellings and everything.
The thing I do love about Bernie and Trump, though, is that they are paying for it by themselves.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And how
Exactly.
about this, man? If you don't think that you can shake it up and like a third party can win or something like that, how about Trump and Bernie, vice president and president? I'd vote for that in a
those
second.
are two completely different ideologies. It
But
would
you
never-
find a middle ground. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That
That'd be
scares me.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
scares me.
I don't know how that would work, but that'd be interesting.
I mean, they're both. I don't know either. But that's
Listen,
why we're here. That's
I
why
love-
we're talking about it, right?
Listen, I love bagels as much as the next guy. Okay, you know that lox and stuff, delicious.
I forget who said it, so I'm not going to take credit for it. But you know how they always do it before and the after of the presidents, like when they're first elected.
Oh, lots of people have done that.
Right,
yeah.
so if Bernie Sanders gets elected, they said
Crypt Keeper.
the Crypt Keeper. Yeah, I forgot where I saw that. Maybe it was on your Twitter feed.
Trump will just be an orange.
I didn't create it, but I did. I think I did retweet it somewhere. But
Trump will just be an orange. Well, I mean, what is it with the tanner though? Come on, dude. Right? Like,
he kind of looks like a chick that I want to bang at Bar A. I gotta be honest.
Oh, so funny you just brought up Bar A.
Why is that?
Well, because we're going to talk about it a little bit,
nice,
man.
nice.
You hear that sexy music? That's
There you go.
indicates we're going to play a little top or bottom. It's a game we play on PBR.
right.
I'm going to read you two things. You're going to tell me if these two things were in a relationship, which one would be on the top, which one would be on the bottom. It's
like it.
tailored to you. So we're going to start with you. We're going to round table it, all right? Top or bottom, number one, Bar A or Jenkinson's?
Bar A, hands down.
I think for the audience, we have people.
Yeah.
This is a global show, so you want to describe?
All right, so yeah, they're both nightclubs here on the Jersey Shore, but you can't really compare the two. I mean, when I first turned 21, I practically lived at Jenks. It's right by my house. I was there
Yeah.
every Friday, Saturday. It's kind of gone downhill a little bit, and that's not, I'm friends, actually, the owner is on my Facebook, and he'll probably listen to this. Sorry. It's changed. It used to be open all year round. Now it's not. I don't know. Maybe they'll come back. Ever since Hurricane Sandy, it's just kind of been like, meh. But Bar A, I mean, it's just a restaurant, bar, nightclub. It's like an all-purpose. It's like a theme park for adults. It's got everything. It's got a grotto.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you beat that? It's got everything. So I started hanging out there because one of the owners, Tommy Janarone, he's an entertainment attorney, so he started to help me with like contracts for some of my gigs. And then it was cool because like he brought me around to everybody, so I always got the VIP treatment. Bar A, hands down. Top Bar A.
yeah, I think I know Jenks as well. I mean, I grew up around here too, so I know Jenks as well. But Bar A, like you said, it's huge, and there's a lot going on there. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, Rye's good friends with the owner, right?
One of them, yeah.
Yeah.
There's three guys.
But Bar A, I think, I have one for that. Okay. I think it ranked nationally a couple years ago as the biggest seller of Bud Light or Miller Lite, whatever beer it is, like over any bar in Vegas or everything. It was like in the top 3 like best selling profitable bars.
Every year when they do like
country.
the top 50 nightclubs, it's always in like the top 15 of those 50.
So Bar A on top. It's actually called Bar Anticipation, but everyone around here calls it Bar A. So that on top, Jenks on the bottom.
I'm one of the. I'm going to say, I'm 40. I'll say that. I'm from here, and I've never been to Jenkinson's.
Okay.
Really?
I'm so proud of that fact that I refuse to. I will never go there.
Jenks is fun.
But in the summer,
go.
but can we all
Listen,
agree that in the summer, DJs tops everything?
Well, that's a happy hour. I'll go there for a happy hour, but I ain't staying much
I'll
longer.
go there
than
for
that.
happy hour, get shit faced that like nighttime won't
And then
bother
go to
me.
Bar
Yeah.
That happens.
Bar A on top. I actually grew up with the Janarones. Our families were very close.
So I was talking about Tommy Janaro.
Yeah. So I remember when I'm much young. I'm the last of my family, and he's the oldest of his.
Okay.
And I remember as a kid going over there for dinner and playing in his shoes. Because that's how big of a human being he is and how big his shoes are. As a little kid, I would like get in his shoe. I remember that. I don't know why it stands out.
Tommy's great people.
Top or bottom, number 2, Andrew Dice Clay or Louis C.K.?
Dice. I mean, well, again, now that's something that has to have an explanation. Louis C.K. is brilliant. Louis C.K. Is an intellectual comic. I thought he killed it at the Oscars when he did that.
Yeah.
I want to see him host the Oscars next year. But Dice is like the rock star of comedy. Dice is on that same level. He was the first Dane Cook, if you think about it.
He was the first one to sell out
Madison
Madison
MSG,
Square
right?
Garden. He was the first guy that made it like comedy was rock and roll. And when people ask me, I would never want to compare myself to those guys. But when people ask me, like, who do you emulate? Who are your influences? Of course, you have Bill Hicks and George Carlin, but I want to be the rock star guy.
Yeah.
I want it because I can't play any instruments. So if I could do it through comedy, that's great. And fucking Dice. And you know
Wrote
what?
the book on it.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that keeps reinventing himself. Like he's coming back. He's going to have a new series on Showtime. It's called Dice, and it's him playing himself. And he's a cool guy. I've gotten to work with him a couple times, and he's helped me out with some things. Dice top, definitely.
He's going to be at the Paramount in Asbury Park this summer.
Yeah.
We actually reached out to him to be on the show, but we couldn't get him. He's not doing media, press. But Ford Fairlane.
Oh, classic.
I mean, classic, but not enough people have seen it. If you
Cult classic.
If you haven't
Yeah.
seen it and you're listening to this podcast, go on Netflix if it's on there, and you gotta watch Ford Fairlane.
The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
It's brilliant, man.
It is.
Al Bundy's in it.
Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, I think Dice. I like how he keeps reinventing himself. Like he was in that movie Blue Ivy.
Yeah.
He was in
Vinyl.
Vinyl, yeah.
He was amazing.
I don't want to give away what
Oh, I
happens,
didn't
but
see that yet. It's worth watching.
I only watched the first and second episode. But like his character, although spoiler short-lived, is it's great in there.
I just said I haven't seen it yet.
I didn't tell you what happens.
He gets killed in the
no,
beginning.
he could leave. He could like I'm out of here.
Dennis, take it off my cue.
No, you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens.
Great show, though.
God.
It already aired, so it's okay. Louis C.K. is great too. But yeah, I think I gotta go Dice on top.
I was a big fan of. I am a big fan of Louis, but I loved his first show on HBO with Jim Norton.
Yeah, Life of Louis.
Loved it, and then I started watching the second one, and it got like really dark, and it kind of rang too much true, where I didn't love it because it was. I don't like shows that make me uncomfortable. Like my I don't like The Office, which blows people away because my father reminds me of the main character.
I never watched The Office, so I don't really know.
Not not that my dad's listening to this. He's driving his house somewhere right now.
I never watched it really either. The Office. I liked the episodes I watched, but I never was religiously watching that show.
So I'm going to put Dice on top because I respect him for all the reasons we've said, and he's never come out and tried to not be Dice.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like he stuck through it. When people hated him, he was still him. And it was F you ever. I'm going to be who I am.
No, he's the best. Yeah, and just in your face, rock star guy. So Dice top.
Top or bottom, number 3. You're going to do stand up. You'd rather do it in New York City or in New Jersey? I just want to go out on. I just want to point it out for the world that I did not write that one. I think that's probably a no-brainer.
No, it's not. Well, here's the thing.
No offense, Frankie.
No, New York City is weird. Like I was working Dangerfields regularly, and I would work the comic strip and stuff like that. I would say here's why I'm going to go with New Jersey. I'm going to top New Jersey, and the reason why I'll top anywhere because I'm not a city comic. To be a city comic, you gotta just worry about doing your 20 minutes. There's 8 guys on a show.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing Caroline's or Gotham, where it's like, 3 acts, an MC middle, and a headliner, you're going into a club where there's 8 comics. And a lot of these people are pulled in from Times Square because they got free tickets. And, a lot of them are from Switzerland. And they say, oh, Rodney Dangerfield's club. And then they go in.
Yeah.
When you perform anywhere else in the country, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, wherever, these are people that are laying out $25, $30 because they're like, I want to go see a comedy show and I want to laugh. It's a much more captive audience. I mean, there were nights at Dangerfield's where there'd be 200 people and maybe 7 of them spoke English. Right. And it was fun. You know what I mean?
That's brutal.
Yeah, I'm gonna top Jersey. I'm gonna top anywhere but New York.
Oh, bullshit. Frankie, I apologize.
You should.
That was a good one.
Didn't you hear what he said in the beginning?
Muted that microphone. There. Sorry about that. It's the power of the board.
Yeah, all right, that's all right.
I think, obviously I'm from Jersey and I love Jersey, but when I was pounding the pavement hard doing stand-up, it was all in New York City. And, man, there were some bad nights, but I think those bad nights, like, obviously cultivate your comedy and, like, get that experience of bombing and, you can
get that experience in anywhere.
No, you could definitely get that experience anywhere, but, like, I guess it's like, New York City is, like, the hub of stand-up
But I think
comedy
the bombing there is different because, and again, I started at Uncle Vinny's where it was like an outside company would rent his room for an open mic.
Yeah.
And it was a tournament. And these were my first times on stage. And I kept winning round after round. And I became cocky because I'm like, I've never even done this before. And I'm beating these people that have been doing it 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So when I won the whole tournament, my prize was a paid spot at Uncle Vinny's opening for Jackie Martling, who is a completely different style of comedy. He's basically just memorizes
He's a joke
books,
jokes, and then goes up and does them. But anyway, this audience that came to see Jackie Martling were people that paid $55, doctors, lawyers,
$55.
This was back in 2006. This was this wasn't too far removed from his Howard Stern fame and all that. And it was a small, intimate venue, 110 seats. And I remember Dino, the owner of Uncle Vinny's, coming up to me going, all right, do 5 minutes. And I remember being like, are you fucking kidding me? I just won this tournament. I was doing a different 5 minutes
is
every week.
nothing, yeah.
But it was my act was bullshit because I was winning open mics with it. The audience at the open mics were parents of the other people that were doing it, family members, people my age.
Yeah.
Now it's people that paid $55 and they want to fucking see a show. And I went
make
up
them
there
laugh, right?
and I ate it. And within 30 seconds, I was like, I want to get off. I mean, I toughed it out, but that 5 minutes was brutal because I didn't have 5 minutes.
Did you get a laugh?
I think I got like maybe 1 or 2 like courtesy laughs, but it was nothing. It was the definition of a bomb.
Does Jackie say anything? Thanks a lot, kid.
I mean, I've worked with him so many times since, and now we're friends, and he'll bring it up from time to time, being like, man, remember that night? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Because I had a decision I had to make after that. It's like, do I want to keep doing this with the bullshit, or do I want to learn how to actually get good at this? So I feel like in the city sometimes when you're doing these bringer shows in the beginning where you got to bring 10 people for stage time, all your friends are like, oh, man, you did great. Yeah. And I think it just gives you a false...
Yeah, you can't really judge it on that. You got to judge it on people that don't know you. Yeah. Just go up there, do your thing.
Or who paid real money.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I guess because I did like Rascals and some other comedy. What's up in North Jersey? Why am I drawing a blank? What's the comedy club in
well, it was Rascals, and now that's gone. Bananas?
Bananas. They're Rascals up there, and Rascals in Ocean when it was still around. But I think I would go New York on top because that's where I did most of my stand-up when I was like pounding the pavement hard with comedy, with stand-up. But but you could bomb anywhere. I wasn't saying you could only bomb. Yeah. It's just like I think I bombed the most in New York in the beginning.
You have a 4?
Yeah, top or bottom. If you had to pick, Hillary or Bernie.
Oh,
you gotta pick one.
I have to. All right, Bernie. Yeah,
Bernie on top.
Because even though I think Bernie Sanders to me is like the old homeless guy that you would see at the park.
Talk about not being presidential. You can't see that guy.
Yeah, like if it was like the 1970s, you'd be like, oh, that's crazy Bernie. Yeah. Go give him a sandwich.
I loved him on the Larry Sanders Show.
Yeah. So it's like the fact that we've devolved so far as a society, this fucking kook is considered. But I'll tell you what, I do believe that he does have good intentions, as wrong as they may be. And Hillary Clinton just,
no way.
She's the devil.
You know what, man? I wouldn't go that far, but after I'm a big fan of House of Cards on Netflix, and for anyone that's listening that's watch that show and tell me if you don't just see the Clintons all over that. I mean, that to me that is like
I feel like she really just wants to be president.
Yeah.
Yeah, her husband. I mean, now all these women, and these women were coming forward back then, but now, her husband's an alleged rapist, and here's this woman coming up here talking about, I'm all about women's rights, and are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
There's like 9 different women that are claiming that your husband raped them, not had an affair with, raped them.
It's
and
crazy.
You're up there like discounting that? I don't know. She sucks.
I agree. I have no problem with a woman being president, just not Hillary Clinton. So yeah, I would go Bernie on top because
Feel the burn.
Like Rai said, I think his intentions are there, but it's like, dude, who do you think's gonna pay for all that crap?
My worst nightmare.
No one's talking about the middle class in this. It's all about immigration and all this stuff. No one's talking about the people that get railed up the ass for their taxes.
Oh,
DerekD.com.
Hi, sir.
DerekD.com if you want to see videos of that.
My worst nightmare is it's Cruz and Hillary at the end. So I feel the burn on that one.
Then I'd go Cruz.
Oh, he. I say she's like the devil, like in jest, because she's like this evil bag. But he reminds me of like Lucifer.
He's
in a suit.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean, like Evangelist.
He's a creepy looking guy, but you know what? He's the next best thing to Trump as far as pissing off the establishment and things of that nature. Because
you realize Donald Trump has to get elected for Derek's comedy career. Right.
Oh, absolutely. He has to get elected for the benefit of the country. I'm Trump all the way. But what I will say is that at this point, it's anyone over Hillary.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
agreed.
how I feel.
I think most people feel that way, to be quite honest.
Top or bottom number 5, blue comedy or clean comedy?
Honest comedy, top. Blue. Like, to me, you don't separate the two. I mean, there are situations where I have to be clean if I get hired for certain corporate gigs and stuff, and I can do it. But to me, you're an adult, you go to a comedy show, you should be able to hear whatever. Am I overly filthy? No.
No, but if someone's getting hit by a train in a joke, you shouldn't get pissed off about it.
Exactly.
Right?
So I'm considered edgy. To me, when someone says keep it clean, that just means, okay, don't talk about gratuitous sex and don't curse. But in some minds now, it's about content. I always thought clean just meant don't say fuck or shit,
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to top blue. Just be honest and be funny. But again, there's ways of being clever about it. I mean, I've seen some of these open mics where it's like we would have these guys that would go up and be like, yes, I was found a curse on this girl's face. And it's like, where's the joke?
Yeah.
If you can craft a perfect joke. This last season of Last Comic Standing, I use this as an example because I teach comedy workshops. And there was a comic on Last Comic Standing, very funny guy. His name's Joe Mackey. And he did one of the best uncomfortable jokes I've ever seen on TV. This was NBC Last Comic Standing. He's talking about, I'm going to fuck it up now because I'm on the spot, but basically he was talking about ordering a pizza, and on the pizza box was a drawing of the World Trade Center, and it said, never forget. And he was like, and I thought that was just so tacky, never forget. He goes, and I'm looking at it, and then I realized they forgot my mozzarella sticks. And the place, but of course that wasn't the full joke, but he built it up. He built it up and you're like, oh my God, where is he going with this?
Yeah.
Is he going to say something really fucked up about the buildings collapsing or people dying?
I love that.
And then it was one of the most brilliant, clean, yet edgy jokes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, people went on Twitter and they complained and said how insensitive because they're snuck. But really, that was the definition of clean, edgy comedy.
Yeah.
So it can be done, but I'm going to have to top with blue.
Yeah, I think there's different kinds of blue. You don't want to go up there. I curse on stuff. I'll drop an F-bomb here and there and say shit.
I'm sorry, I just used the C word. So that's what we're talking about.
But I won't. I'm not going to be talking about real vulgar sexual stuff. That's what I can more consider blue. But so I think clean comedy is just as long as you're not being overly grotesque.
Yeah.
And
look, if you're being honest in comedy, I mean, you're talking about what you can relate to.
it's at its purest form, too.
And we're Jersey guys that we go out a lot. We're single. We hang out with girls. Things happen. That's what we talk about. So it's how does that not cross into that blue territory?
Yeah, it's life.
Yeah.
So I think blue on top, but in the sense
I
of
agree. I agree completely, man.
Not overly grotesque,
Yeah.
like you were saying, these open mic guys go up there and think that's funny. It's that's not comedy. That's just you being an ass.
I had a situation up in Connecticut where I was doing a spot, and I was like, it was an open mic, but they paid me to like close out the show. And they go, right before you go up, we have this kid who's never done comedy before. And I'm like, oh Jesus, but I feel, but I'm thinking like, okay, maybe he's serious. And he goes up there and he's like, yeah, man, my sister has this stuffed animal. It's called the Purple Monster, and I drilled a hole in it and I puffed it. And I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! Like I have to follow this. Like, like what makes
What not
you?
to
That's
do?
the same feeling Jackie the Joke Man had that night. You opened
You're probably right. But what makes me, but at least, I mean, my jokes that I did with Jackie weren't funny, but they were still jokes. They had that setup of a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They
set
just
up a
weren't
punch.
good,
Yeah.
Yeah, what you're describing is what Derek talks about is the PewDiePie complex.
Yeah.
You know PewDiePie?
Yeah.
It's like the most followed person on YouTube for no reason, because
Exactly.
he gets so mad.
It's insane.
I know. But what bothers me, though, yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. That this business as a whole is a lottery ticket. Like I'm a huge fan of the stuff that Derek's put on YouTube. The fact that Bolton Beach thing didn't go viral, but you know why it didn't go viral? Because you had to sit there and watch it. What goes viral? These fucking Vic DiMatteo, who's one of my best friends in the business, he had bread and milk.
Oh, the
go
bread and
viral.
milk guy, yeah.
Okay. But do you know how many vignettes he's done that he'll even admit blew that out of the water? But that was a 20-second clip, because
Yeah.
that's the attention span of
Yeah.
these fucking people.
Yeah, man.
People, first of all, I mean, we appreciated that. And even if you're not a Michael Bolton fan, it was still funny. But as a kid that's 21 years old that is into fucking Jenna Marbles or one of these other assholes, are they going to sit and watch something
No,
like that?
man.
No.
Instagram doesn't do 15-second videos for no reason.
Exactly.
You know what I
Or
mean?
Vine, 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, you see all these people that are becoming famous off of YouTube and everything, and it's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We were talking about.
I agree with that one.
We were talking about earlier. Your parents and like Pizza Beer Revolution. Pizza Beer is what gets us in the room, but the show really is all about the revolution. So I just wanted to kind of get back to that, man. Your parents bring you down to Jersey when you're like 7 years old.
Yeah.
Bring us down the path of what really what drives you to go into comedy. Like, what was your influence there?
You know what? My whole life, I was always the kid that would make people like when I lived up in North Jersey. I lived in a 2-family house where it was my mom and dad obviously upstairs, and then downstairs was this woman who was like my third grandmother, very close friend of the family, and her 2 daughters. And I was always around adults, and it was that Hudson County, everyone's smoking cigarettes, drinking coffee. To the point of where, like, I was in so many ways more mature than kids my age, but immature in so many ways too. More mature, like I was the kid, like when we were in 5th grade, and that was when people started quote unquote dating, and it was like, oh well, I'm going out with Cindy. I'm like, where the fuck are you going? What are you getting on a bike and going over there? Like, shut up. Like I was always that kid. Like, so I always had like that adult edge to me.
Yeah.
I was the guy that. I don't even know if in school, maybe in high school, my classmates thought I was funny. But in elementary school, I was always the guy that made the teachers laugh, where the teachers would get pissed because they were like, all right, that's funny, but you can't do that.
Inappropriate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's tough.
So yeah, in a lot of ways, I was always way more mature than people. But I mean, look, now I'm going to be 33 and I'm still a lot more immature than people my age group. You know what I mean? I'm still
Yeah.
going out having fun. So I don't know. I was always that type of guy. And I think my first love was always pro wrestling. And I actually, at 16, was in the pro wrestling business and doing the independent wrestling shows as a manager and a ring announcer and like, the bad guy manager that would be cutting the promos on the crowd. And so, I'd have people say to me, well, why don't you try out for the drama club? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. That's gay, like, which I wish I had, because
Yeah.
who knows what it would have, what other experiences it could have given me. But
I mean, it's the same.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so I was doing all that stuff, and then it got to a point where it was like, I'm going to school, and I didn't really like college. And then, so now what am I going to do? Now I'm 21, 22. I get on the railroad, because my parents made me apply when I left college. They're like, look, you have to fucking do something to plan. And I was miserable. And I did my first open mic while I was a train conductor, and my girlfriend at the time was very supportive. She was like, oh, you should go for it. Until, of course, I started to do it and make money. And then she's like, what, you're going to be away every weekend? And, yeah. But at first, no, chase your dreams, honey. And then
Yeah.
it was like, oh, did you have to take a picture with that girl after the show?
Right.
But, so it just kind of was one of those things where I was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to give it a shot, and I'm going to see what happens. And look, it's still a hustle. I mean, I've been doing it now. It's going to be in October, 10 years, which
Yeah.
is mind blowing.
Yeah.
But I've been doing it full time since like 09.
It's got to feel good, right?
It does. You know, I mean, I miss the health benefits. That's the only thing I really miss about the railroad. But I was miserable, man. And I saw myself, you know, I was 22 working there, and I would see these guys that were in their 50s that were married to women they hated, had kids that didn't appreciate them, and literally just had
I see those guys every day.
and just had to get out of bed, and they were fucking just dregs of society, just miserable. And I'm like, do I really want to be that? You know what I mean? Like, I remember I was 22, I had the job, and I bought a brand new Mustang. And I still have it because, you know, I'm poor now. But I remember when I bought this car, I was paying like $600 a month. And like these guys that were in their 50s, like hated me for it. I'm like, well, you could have a Mustang.
Right.
Like,
you
no,
made
we
the,
can't.
You
I'm
made
like,
the choice to have kids and get married, right? I mean,
like, so
You're right, and I see these guys like get taking your tickets and they're punching the thing, and they just look miserable.
Yeah.
And they hate their job. They're about to go on strike now, and then
no, they just settled last
Oh, they
night.
did?
Because they're pussies.
That's good for me on Monday.
It's good
though.
for you, but they're pussies. They
But,
should have walked.
But it's so miserable. Some of them, don't get me wrong, some of them are like, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning." Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's
Those are the guys with seniority. They're happy.
yeah, and but yeah, a firm believer, and you got to do what you love to do. And I love the fact that you were like, "I'm miserable. I don't care about health benefits. I don't care about that. I just need to go and do
I
what
wish I
I
had
love
the balls
to
to do that.
But hold
know?
on. See, now that's where I have to cut you off because I can't take all the credit. Look, I mean, at the time, it was my family, my parents. They're like, okay, you can live here. You can. If I was, you know, if I was somebody that was 22 and living out on my own and didn't have a family that was supportive, I don't know if I would have been able to because I would have been poor. I would have
Same
been
as me.
homeless.
I
Yeah.
lived at home for a long time, and yeah, my parents supported what I was doing. I was waitering and substitute teaching and auditioning constantly and doing stand up. And
Yeah.
that's you have to do. You either do it or
Yeah.
you don't do it. You go get a
Exactly.
job in a bank or go be I'll use
And
my
you have something now. I mean, you're more established in that realm than I am because you have something steady. I mean, I'm still look. I mean, I can regularly work stand up. You know, and I started doing like bar bingo and trivia. I have like a little business going with that. But I mean, you know, you found a niche and it's working for you. But I mean, you know, still that. You know, for if you want to go a step up, you know, it's not always guaranteed. So you have to keep going out and doing auditions and
I'm constantly
and it's
auditioning
tough.
still,
Yeah.
like, all the time,
Yeah.
and not getting things, and that's just the way it is. I mean, it's always what's next.
No, it's a racket, man, and it always will be.
But doesn't that make it fun though? It's a life that's even though
does.
sometimes it's fucking terrible. It's that roller coaster ride of ups and downs, and it's not this steady thing. This is going to happen
But let me ask
every
you,
day.
and not that I want to be in a relationship, but and this is getting like personal, but
Sure.
you know, let me ask you this: if you ever felt this way, have you ever met somebody like that? You're like, wow, man, she's awesome, you know, but you're like, fuck, I can't. And you'll still maybe go for it, whatever, but you feel you can't bring something to the table because you're like, wow, wait a minute, she's you know, she's a pharmaceutical rep. She's making like $200,000 a year. Yeah, I'm doing dick jokes. And like, not that you're looking down on yourself because I know I'm fucking talented and I know I should be making great money. And if you don't believe, especially if you have 10 years in comedy, that you shouldn't be a huge star,
Yeah.
then get the fuck out.
Right.
But
You gotta have
haven't-
that confidence,
I haven't
sure.
had that happen yet. So it's like, you know, like, how do I say to this girl, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be going to Allentown, Pennsylvania next weekend for $700. You
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's one of those things. Do you ever feel that way because like your job is always a hustle and some of these people are more established?
I don't know if I've ever felt that way in particular, but I've definitely felt a sense where like it's like, wow, I really like this girl, but I can't commit to what she wants, so I got to end this. Even though
It's
it
not even a
sucks.
matter of what she wants.
And
it's just feeling like
incompatible
I mean,
because she makes more
not
money.
even because she makes more money, but like just like she has a routine, she has a set thing. Whereas you or I can get a phone call where, hey, you got to go here, you got to go there,
but-
and it's a lot to ask.
and not
The answer to
necessarily.
your questions is simple though, because if the woman isn't on board with that, man, it's not the right woman.
not
No,
the right
I
one.
agree.
Yeah.
Look, oh please, this isn't like a fucking Dear Abby. I'm not saying that. I get that, but I had the flip side of it. I mean, I had somebody who I was with, granted, before I was doing it, and she was all about it. And then every girl I've dated since, they think it's always the same thing. It's like for the first 6 weeks, they're like, "Oh my god, you're so funny." I think that's what's so great about you. You always make me laugh. And then, like, you know, 3 months later, is everything a fucking joke to you? And it's like, well, yeah. I mean, like, absolutely.
I essentially do that for a living.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
So, But yeah, so that's what it is. And look, it's not always a glamorous thing. I mean, I could do the Borgata in Atlantic City 2 weeks a year. That's the thing about stand-up. It's peaks and valleys. I remember the first time I did Borgata, I'm like, holy shit, man. I'm in the music box. It's 1,000 seats, sold out every night. And I'm living in the hotel. I mean, they give you a beautiful room in Borgata. All your meals are comped. I mean, I remember the one year I was there.
How long? For like a week?
You're there for a full week, dude.
Yeah.
7 days. And you're off Friday, Saturday. They just let you out there because with the music box. So then, like the first time I was there,
Oh, because they'll have like a big musical act or
yeah,
something.
they had Matchbox 20.
Yeah.
So like they're like, look, but we need you on standby. Or because like if there's a comedian, like my one buddy got to open for Lewis Black because Lewis Black was there the Friday, Saturday, and his opener got sick. So they're like, look, we have this guy on standby. So they try to they tell you to stay.
Yeah.
So they give you the hotel room even when you're off.
That's
so I have
awesome.
my friends coming down on party, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is rock star. I have my mom calling me going, oh, are you okay? It's really chilly out there. I'm like, Mom, I haven't been outdoors in 6 days. I've been in the casino, So it's one of those things. And then a week later or 2 weeks later, I'm in San Antonio in this fucking rundown condo because the club was too cheap to give me a hotel. Roach infested, disgusting. So that's the peaks and valleys of this business.
Especially for stand-ups. Especially
Yeah.
stand-ups doing the country grind, man.
That's across the board.
And I remember meeting like this girl like who saw me at Borgata. We were only dating like a couple weeks, and she's like, that was the first gig she came to. And I remember just saying to her, I'm like, I'm telling you, it's not all like this. I'm like, this is the crown jewel gig. You just happen to be here. This is your first one. I'm telling you, it's not like this.
When I toured, I did a show for the New York Rangers,
Okay.
so I traveled with them during the playoffs, and I was in Canada. No matter we were in Canada, we were in Washington, all over the place, but we stayed with the team. So we were at the
Yeah.
Ritz-Carlton,
Oh,
the
wow.
Four Seasons. So I was just in Vegas shooting on Impractical Jokers. They
Yeah.
put me in the worst. I stayed in my hotel room for 30 minutes, maybe. It looked like a crime scene. You know what I mean? Like, so you go for it's
In
not
Vegas?
just in Vegas. We were at
Where?
the-
Where
it was
was
at the
it?
Succosphere, like the Stratosphere.
It's that bad there?
Dude, I would not stay there. I checked out. I went to the Aria.
Because I'm going next April. I have a couple meetings out there, and I actually booked Hooters because it's the cheapest.
It's right across the street.
But Hooters,
It's right there.
Hooters didn't look. I mean, I've heard that. Look, it's cheap, but I heard it's not bad. I mean, I've always.
I've never been.
The
there.
guy dropped me off. The cab driver dropped me off. He goes, "Whatever you do, if you leave this hotel, do not walk around the backside of it. If you walk this way towards the strip, you're good. You walk around the backside, you'll be murdered."
At Hooters.
Well, it's right next to the Stratosphere. So I was at the
Jesus
Stratosphere.
Christ.
I checked in. I went upstairs. I looked around. There was like blood stains on the wall. the
Stratosphere?
Yeah, dude. The bathtub was like peeling off. You know what I mean? There was no hot water. There was no air conditioning or heat. No, it was terrible. And I checked out. I went to the Aria. I was there for 5 days filming. Yeah. I spent more money on my hotel room because I refused to stay there than I made. But I would not stay there, dude.
Oh, now you have me all nervous about Hooters because I stayed at Riviera.
Well, it's a totally different hotel. So
Yeah.
I didn't go to Hooters.
I've never stayed at Hooters.
But no, but you said that where Hooters is.
Well, they're next to each other, but that doesn't. There's actually the SLS is brand new. Is right there.
Well, I
So-
already booked Hooters though. They already have
yeah.
my money.
No, I don't know if Hooters is bad.
I stayed at Riviera last year just because I had a week of gigs in Reno. And I was meeting my buddies out for the nightclub convention. So I was like, fuck it. I just want to go cheap.
Sure.
My Reno money is basically paying for this vacation. And I stayed at the Riviera. They were closing in July. And I stayed there in March. And it was old, but at least it was clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but the
that's
problem with the
important, man.
Riviera was I saved all that money. They were charging like $30 a night, but it was so far down the end of the strip that you
Yeah.
get killed in the cabs.
Yep.
You know?
It's another. Yeah, it was when I had to meet the crew from the Aria to the Succosphere. It was like a $25-$30 cab ride.
Oh, wow.
Like that bites into it, man.
I mean, like any across the board in the entertainment industry, peaks and valleys,
Peaks and
all
valleys.
the time.
There was nothing better than going into Canada at the Four Seasons and having my own bidet and everything. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, but I mean, so that's what it always.
Nobody even balked at the.
So a lot of people. No, I noticed it. I just look. I enjoy having my asshole cleaned.
Jets of water up your asshole.
But see, women always probably think that Derek and I are like players and stuff. We're not. We're just looking for a girl that'll accept us.
that loves you for who you are.
You know.
Speaking of assholes getting cleaned, if you had to yell for Dennis the intern, I like to ask everybody. Our intern that's running around here, he's terrible. If you had to call his name, how would you call it?
Dennis.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
That's like just like a Dennis.
You called him like he was sitting right behind you, like Dennis. I need my paper.
I don't know. Is he sitting behind? Is there?
He's
somebody
upstairs,
that,
probably.
Okay. No, I've never met Dennis. I don't think so. Have I?
No.
Am I supposed to pretend like I've met
No,
Dennis?
you might not have met him because you never know where he is. But if you had him, then if you need him,
Well, what if he's gonna really come down here? It's gonna be fucking awkward.
Because you haven't met him yet.
Yeah, like, are we doing a bit now? Like, I don't know.
I'm just
like,
really. I ask every guest.
Yes, every guest.
If they had to call for him.
Yeah.
I don't need him. I'm good.
That's a good answer.
That's what answer there.
You got time for a quick game?
Yeah, man. I'm in no rush.
All right. We got time for a quick game, Frankie. Frankie's like, Frankie does sign language over there, but I don't speak sign language. So we're going to play a little game called Rehashing Your Hashtag.
Okay.
All right?
Oh,
Basically,
shit.
we during Stinker Tinker time, we stalked your Twitter feed. We're going to read you a couple of your tweets, and you're going to tell us, what the hell was I thinking? On February 8th, 2015 at 8:56 p.m., you said, Kanye West's wardrobe provided by the Salvation Army thrift shop in Linden. Hashtag Grammys.
Yeah, because Kanye West was dressed like an asshole, if I remember correctly. And when I was a train conductor, we'd always pass the Salvation Army thrift shop in Linden, and we'd see people come out in these like fucking ridiculous outfits. So that was more of like a locals joke for people. I'm really gonna be embarrassed, but keep going because
I mean, assholes dress like assholes, right?
yeah.
You would know.
At least pick funny ones.
DerekD.com. DerekD.com. Everybody, you're muted.
I love that you just keep plugging.
Muted. Which will be muted? I muted myself, by the way. Did you see that? Go ahead.
Well, DerekD.com will be refreshing.
On August, stop. Nobody loves Derek D like Derek D. I think you love you more than your mom loves you, and that's
come
usually
on.
who loves you the
You
most.
make it sound way worse than it is, and I just,
Ryan.
I just.
No, I don't think he's cocky. I just did that to play along before.
August 13th, 2015 at 6:42 p.m., you said Sesame Street on HBO will address edgier topics, Big Bird's gender issues, Snuffy's depression, and Gordon's Black Panther past.
There was because there was an announcement that new episodes of Sesame Street were going to come out on HBO. Did that ever happen, by the way?
I think it has. I think it has.
Because it was huge news.
There's
when
been
it
no
happened.
like commercials for it or anything. I haven't seen.
It was huge news when it happened, but yeah,
was
so
huge.
I figured, fuck it.
Huge.
When I'm
If
elected,
you're gonna put it on HBO, let's make it interesting. You know.
Last one. On February 22nd, 2016, 8:24 p.m., you said Donald Trump being pro-choice in 1998 doesn't mean he isn't really pro-life now. People change. In 1998, I thought 311 was a good band.
Yeah, because when I was in high school, and I've recently gotten back in touch with a lot of people I went to high school with because I did an independent movie called Kill Mills with some guys. And basically what it is like, like Not Another Teen Movie or any of those parody movies, but this one's about Quentin Tarantino films. We took all 7
that's
Quentin
great.
Tarantino
Oh, that's
films and
interesting.
we made an independent movie parody. It should hopefully be out by the summer. But so I did it with 2 guys who I was in high school with and a whole cast and crew. And they're still obsessed with 311. And I remember when I was
I love 311, bro. I'm not going to lie.
See, when
some
I was-
songs.
311
There's some songs that are good, but like when I was 15, 16, that was like our thing. Like our
Mm.
parents would drop us off at PNC Art Center, and then we would find like the kids that were a couple years ahead of us from Monsignor Donovan High School where we went.
They'd have the beer.
And they'd have the beer and the
Yeah.
weed, and we would get fucked up. And we're like, yeah, man, this is awesome. And a lot of these guys, I thought they were okay because I was a teenager, but like I would never listen to that shit now. As
I
someone that
see him
would listen-
every year. I'm sorry. I love
Come
it.
original. You've got to come original.
Oh, it's fucking awful.
All entertainment.
It could be
You
worse,
are.
right?
That's awful.
Your Twitter feed's very entertaining. I'm not going to lie, man.
Thank you.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming out, man.
Thanks,
we
man.
really
It was my
appreciate it.
pleasure.
It was a
This
lot
one will
of fun.
actually make it to air.
Oh, let's hope so. Were the mics on for this one?
They were on.
All right,
Everything's
good.
recorded. I double checked everything. On the way out, speaking of your Twitter feed, where can the PBR posse stalk you?
Please, Ryan Maher Comedy, RyanMaher Comedy, Instagram at Ryan Maher Comedy. I'm on Facebook as well. Shoot me a friend request or whatnot. We're all good.
Right. I appreciate. Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, Kill Mills hopefully will be out by the summer. I have a DVD for sale. Fuck it.
We didn't even get into the DVD.
It's been selling
CD
well.
thing.
Actually, just real quick before we leave, you were busting my balls
I
so
was.
bad, and it's been selling.
You know
well.
what? I'm going to put that conversation up on Patreon, but I think it's only. I think you'll only hear you because I don't know if I was recorded.
I guess I was in there though.
Yeah, you two. It'll be you two talking to nobody.
Yeah, why
Derek,
not?
Derek, do you want to plug anything?
You're gonna mute me anyway.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Fastlane Daily. We're owned by Time Inc. now, so we got a new studio. and everything.
Congratulations,
So
dude.
thank you. Check that out. Just Fastlane Daily on YouTube.
PBR Podcast. You can find us on the web, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram us. Give us
Podcast?
some love, and we will love you back. Ryan, thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, man.